Hi, welcome to Math Antics. In this geometry lesson, we're going to learn all about triangles. You may remember from the lesson about polygons that triangles are special polygons that always have 3 sides and 3 angles. And that's what the word triangle means. Tri means 3, and angles means angles. Okay, that's easy enough. 3 sides, 3 angles. But what else is there to know about triangles? Well, for starters, we're going to learn how to classify triangles. Ooh, such a classy triangle. But seriously, there's 2 different ways to classify or organize triangles. They can be classified by their sides, and they can be classified by their angles. Let's start by classifying triangles by their angles, since we've already learned a lot about angles in the previous videos. You may remember from our first video about angles that there's 3 types of angles. There's right angles, acute angles, and obtuse angles. Well, watch what happens if we use a third line in each of these angles to form closed shapes. Aha! Triangles. And can you guess what these 3 different kinds of triangles are called? Yep. The one made from the right angle is called a right triangle. The one made from the acute angle is called an acute triangle. And the one made from the obtuse angle is called an obtuse triangle. So that's simple enough. But notice that for each of our 3 triangles, the new angles that were formed when we closed the shapes are all acute angles. So triangles always have at least 2 acute angles. And it's the other angle that determines what type it is. That's important to know so you don't get tricked. For any given triangle, just because you see one acute angle, that doesn't mean it's an acute triangle. You have to look at all the angles to tell if it's an acute triangle. The situation's easier with right and obtuse triangles because you can only have one right or obtuse angle per triangle. So as soon as you spot one of those kinds of angles, you know what type of triangle you have. Okay, now that you know all about how triangles are classified, let's learn one more really important thing about triangles. In our video about angles and degrees, we learned that we can measure angles and say how big or how small they are using special units called degrees. Well, since triangles are always made up of 3 angles, each of those angles has its own measurement in degrees. And the important thing is that those 3 angle measurements, if you combine them, they will always add up to 180 degrees. For example, have a look at this triangle. If we were to take a saw and cut it up into 3 separate angles, and then if we were to take those 3 angles and rearrange them so that they're right next to each other like this, you can see that the total would be the same as a straight angle. That's 180 degrees. And this will work no matter what type of triangle it is. Knowing that a triangle's angles will always add up to 180 degrees can really help you out when solving geometry problems. There's a whole lot of situations where you'll know what 2 of the angles are, but you need to figure out what the 3rd angle is, like in this problem. With this triangle, we're told that one of the angles is 35 degrees and the other is 45 degrees. But the 3rd angle is unknown. We need to figure out what it is. Since we know that the total must be 180 degrees, we can just add up the angles that we do know, and then we subtract that from 180 degrees to see what's left over. The leftover amount must be the measurement of the unknown angle. So 35 plus 45 equals 80 degrees. And when we take that 80 and subtract it from 180, we get 100 degrees left over. That means that our unknown angle is 100 degrees. And you can always check your answer by adding up all the angles to make sure you get 180. So you can see why it's so important to know that a triangle's angles add up to 180 degrees. Well, that's all we're going to learn about triangles in this video. Remember, the key to really learning math is to do it. So be sure to practice by doing the exercises for this section. As always, thanks for watching Math Antics, and I'll see you next time. Learn more at mathantics.com.